Hey, welcome back everybody to our series, The 10 Commandments of Better Pet Parents. So thank you so much for joining us. If you missed any of the other episodes, go back and catch up. But today we're going to be talking about number 7 on the list, which is that better pet parents care about their pet's hygiene and put comfort above looks. So I know that we've been having all of our little Friday video discussions back in my office, but we're going to be on a little field trip today. We're inside my mobile grooming van for this episode, which I thought would be appropriate since we're talking about pet hygiene. So welcome to the grooming van, and we will go and get the client's dog now, and we will groom a dog together. A couple of the things to keep in mind when we talk about our pet's hygiene is proper bathing. So if you're bathing your animal at home, make sure that you're having a conversation with your veterinarian about what shampoo to use on your pet and how frequently to bathe your pet. So a lot of people will bathe their pet too often, and a lot of people will bathe their pet not nearly enough. So it's an important conversation to have with your veterinarian to talk about the proper frequency and the proper shampoo to use. You want to make sure that you're not bathing your pet on an ongoing basis in something like dishwashing liquid. I run into a lot of clients that do that, and that can dry your pet's skin out. It's okay, to use something like that if you've got a really oily pet for like a one-time use, something like that, but it would never be the proper thing to use on an ongoing basis. It's also really important to keep in mind that if you're washing your pet's face at home, you want to make sure that any shampoo that you use on your pet's face is tearless. So it'll say tearless on the bottle. Just like baby shampoo. I don't recommend using human baby shampoo though. So something that's meant for pets that says tearless for what you're using on the face. I do want everybody to know that it is never recommended to submerge your pet in water. The best way to give your pet a bath is just with a handheld shower head. So spraying the pet off from head to toe, tilting their head back when you're washing their face to make sure it doesn't get down in their nose, things like that. And you never want to spray water at a cat's face. Cats are certainly more susceptible to drowning, so you want to make sure that you never submerge a cat in water or spray a cat's face with water. If you are gonna clean up your cat at home, I recommend that you just use like a warm washcloth on your cat's face. But when we're talking about shampooing the face with tearless shampoo and things like that, that only applies to dogs. So for a cat, we would never recommend spraying water in their face. And then also, when it comes to your pet's hygiene, you want to make sure that your pet always has a nice sanitary clip. So you want to make sure that they're clipped up nice around their privates and on their butt and things like that, so that when they go to the bathroom, they're not making a mess of themselves and getting, all that in their hair. That kind of thing left in their hair can cause a lot of skin irritation. So if you've got a pet that does not have a good sanitary cut and they're urinating on themselves, that can scald the skin from the ammonia in the urine. So you just want to make sure that you're keeping them cleaned up and that, that they're not getting any matted hair on their hind end where they can't go to the bathroom properly. So proper hygiene is just such an extremely important topic when it comes to pet parenting, and it's certainly the better pet parents out there who are taking this topic seriously. You always want to make sure that you're keeping them comfortable because this is something that matters to their quality of life. So keeping their toenails clipped where that's not going to hurt when they're walking on their feet, keeping the hair clipped inside their paw pads is a very important part of their hygiene. You don't ever want that hair inside their feet to get matted, because when it does, that can feel like they're walking on rocks. I've had some dogs that I've worked on in here that the hair inside the feet has gotten so matted and has gone so long that it's as hard as a rock. So it's so important to find a groomer that you trust and definitely have your veterinarian educate you on anything that you might be doing at home with your pet's hygiene to make sure that they're always comfortable. I do want to touch today on the topic of oral hygiene. So a lot of groomers offer various services about oral hygiene. Here at my grooming business, we do not ever offer oral hygiene services to our customers because it's just my personal and professional belief that anything with oral hygiene needs to be under the instruction of a veterinarian. So a lot of times, you know, if you have your dog at the groomer, they say, do you want teeth brushing? Well, I don't offer that just because I don't think it does anything. The source of odor in your pet's mouth is always from tartar buildup. So the tartar that's on their teeth is what causes the bad breath. So similar to like if you went to the dentist and had not brushed your teeth in years, which is what we're dealing with animals, there would be so much tartar buildup that you can imagine how much it would take with scaling the teeth to get all that off. Well, when you go into a groomer and you pay $10 for them to brush your pet's teeth, they're not going to be doing anything that's going to be removing that tartar. When you go in for a professional dental cleaning with your veterinarian and they do remove that tartar, some of those pieces of tartar can get swallowed by your pet, and anytime that bacteria is ingested, like in a professional dental cleaning, they're going to send you home with antibiotics. And that's so that if any tartar did get swallowed, they're on a course of antibiotics to make sure that an infection doesn't start. So at my grooming business, I don't offer any oral hygiene services for two reasons. Because one, I think it's ineffective for just a one-time brushing from a groomer. But two, if you did remove any tartar and it got swallowed, a groomer's not sending you home with antibiotics. So I strongly recommend that you have a conversation with your veterinarian about what you can do on a daily basis at home to keep up with your pet's oral hygiene, because that's the most effective way to see progress. If you have them do a professional cleaning and then you maintain that cleaning, that would be the most effective way to maintain your pet's oral hygiene. So I just would beware about services like that, just because they're very rarely going to be effective. And if they are, your pet's health could be at risk. So just be aware, you know, and get a groomer that you trust. It's so important too that if you do have a long-haired dog, that you are trusting a professional groomer to do that haircut. I hear a lot of people say that they tried to cut the dog's hair themselves, and you get a lot of disaster stories with that kind of thing. It's so easy to cut a dog if you don't have the right equipment or if you don't know what you're doing. Or a cat. Certainly a cat has very thin skin, so they're going to be even easier to cut if you don't know what you're doing. So I strongly encourage each and every one of you to find a groomer that you trust if your dog does need a haircut. And just have a conversation with your veterinarian about all things hygiene. Say, you know, what can I do to keep up with their skin hygiene? What should I be washing them in? How frequently should I be washing them? Make sure that you're having a conversation with your veterinarian about proper ear health. It's very important to make sure that you're keeping all the ear canal hair out of their ears, that you're keeping their ears dry and clean so that they're not susceptible to ear infections. And like we just talked about, oral hygiene is very important too. Another thing that's worth noting about your pet's hygiene is their eyes. So a lot of these guys will have eye discharge that, you know, will come and dry right here in front of the eyes, and that can build up until it's really like a solid thing that has to be removed. So it's definitely the better pet parents out there that are keeping an eye on that and making sure that if your pet is prone to having the eye leakage, that you're wiping that off just like you would for a child. You're not going to let a child run around with a bunch of stuff on their face, and you're not going to let, you shouldn't let your pet be miserable in that way either. So definitely make sure that you're being attentive to your pet's needs. If they do have that problem, wiping that off daily with a warm wash rag so that it doesn't have the chance to dry up and become a huge problem, because a lot of times when us groomers go to take that off, it's so tight on there that it can pull up the skin and it can be, an infection. So proper eye hygiene, proper ear hygiene, making sure that all their potty problems are taken care of, that they're not getting any kind of infections from not addressing those areas, making sure their nails are clipped, and obviously making sure that they don't get neglected and matted. When a pet gets real matted, the skin can become infected, and too much moisture can get locked under there. And it's just such an important thing to brush your pets and maintain all their hygiene and keep a close eye on all of their needs. I do want to just mention when it comes to brushing. So your groomer knows whether or not you brush your pet. I can't stress that enough as a professional groomer. So I like to tell people it's like when you go to the dentist. So if you go to the dentist and your dental hygienist says, well, have you been flossing? And you're like, yeah, I floss every day, morning and night. Well, they know whether you're telling the truth or not. And most people are lying about that. And the same goes for brushing your dog. So we know whether you're brushing your dog. I can't tell you how many times that I've heard people tell stories when they come to the grooming appointment, saying, oh, I brush him every day, but this morning he ran off in the woods and came back looking like this. Don't talk to your groomer like they just fell off the turnip truck. They know whether or not you're brushing your dog. And I just encourage each and every one of you to brush your animals. It's such an important part of their hygiene, just like it is for us. You would not neglect your own hair for weeks at a time or months at a time because you need that brushing. And I do just want to say too that you can only have the haircuts you want if you've maintained that brushing. So groomers are not miracle workers, and if that coat is pelted, they can't get through it with like the guard attachment that goes on the clippers, then it's going to have to come off. And that's not the groomer's fault. That's going to be because whoever owns the dog hasn't been brushing it. So, and that goes for a dog or a cat. So I just want to, stress that the type of haircut you want depends on the type of maintenance you've been doing at home, and to just brush them. Brush them no matter what kind of haircut you want, just because it's good for them. And also, when it comes to today's topic of, looking out for their hygiene and putting their comfort above looks, what I mean by that is if they are matted, knowing that it's best to get that off. You don't want to ask your groomer to pull and tug on that animal for the 3 or 4 hours it's going to take to give you the haircut that you want. What's more important is that your pet has a quick and easy grooming process, that's not painful or stressful for them, and then you can maintain the proper brushing from there on out if you want to go for a longer haircut. But please just know that making requests to your groomer is not just about your groomer's abilities or what you're paying the groomer. It's about what your pet is going to have to go through to get the haircut you're asking for. So if they've got a lot of hair damage and it's just too far gone to do that kind of a haircut with, you need to be respectful and know that the groomer is going to have to take that off, and you'll do better next time. Ask your groomer to teach you the proper way to brush your pet, the proper way to comb your pet, the proper way to know that you're going to be able to have the haircuts that you want. And I do just want to mention too that as our pets get older, we may not be able to request the really involved scissor cuts maybe that we liked when they were younger. If they get to a point where they're really arthritic, or it's just hard for them to stand and things like that, or if they have heart conditions, or certainly if they have seizures and things like that, your priority needs to be keeping that grooming appointment as short and sweet as possible for them. So I just do want to stress that that's one of the things I run into a lot that I feel like the public needs to hear about, is that as your animal ages and he or she might develop health conditions, you don't need to be vain about their haircut. It needs to be about doing whatever's best for them to keep that appointment as the least stressful as possible. So please keep in mind what's best for your pet when it comes to what you ask your groomer to do. And please do everything that you can at home to do your part with your pet's hygiene. Thank you for joining us today. And like I always say, thank you for being one of the better pet parents out there.